All right, good morning, everybody. What's going on? It's Fast Cars, Fast Money. Andrew here. We're talking about the Brickyard 400 today. Hopefully, we get this race in. I know there's been some rain in the forecast all weekend long. Rain has impacted this Cup Series. They were supposed to have a 50-minute practice session on Saturday that um, it was limited to, I think, 20 minutes or 25 minutes, something like that. So we've limited, practice data. We were able to get qualifying in, but we're going to turn the page and look at the driver by driver breakdown. So you got Hamlin up there starting dead last. And, if you didn't see qualifying, what happened to Hamlin? Well, he got loose. He snapped the car, hit the wall. This team is going to a backup car. Hamlin was on pace to set the pole. He was on a blistering lap, and unfortunately, totaled the car basically. So they are going to a backup car. He does start DFL, massive place differential upside. So, limited number of laps with how large this track is. So a little bit more of an emphasis on place differential today. So I really like Hamlin despite the backup car. Then you got Blaney there. Blaney would be kind of a nice pivot option or even a guy to pair with Hamlin, honestly. Blaney's practice times weren't really that good, which is slightly concerning, but I think come race time and race pace, I would imagine this team's going to move forward, but slightly a little bit of a concern there just with the price tag. Larson doesn't give you as much place differential upside, but he didn't win this race last year. He was like one of the only cars that kind of perfected the art of passing here. So it'd be kind of interesting to see, how drivers do today. But really like his upside. Byron's a little bit more of a tournament play. Likely he's going to be the lowest owned of the five-figure 10K plus range, but he does start furthest towards the front of the field. So pretty solid GPP play. Was fourth in the 5 lap average, second in the 10 lap average. So could be a potential good lap leader today. And then you got Chase Elliott as well. He's $1,000 cheaper than Denny Hamlin. He did get loose during his qualifying run, so he starts deeper than he should. He's also been extremely consistent this year. So, a lot of place differential plays up here. I think you can't really go wrong. I would say Byron is definitely a little bit more of the tournament play, definitely carries the most risk of all these drivers. But it's going to be hard not to get Hamlin and Elliott, into your lineups today. And then you got Reddick, Bell, Brisco, and Busher. Reddick, I've seen some people talking about him. I don't know. He has good track position. I just don't know if he can go out there and be that lap leader, be that dominator. It's going to be tough for him to get, outscore these place differential plays. And I think there's a couple other drivers that I think have a better chance of leading laps. Christopher Bell, he's in there. He's kind of the same as, Larson, where he gives you a little bit of, place differential upside, but, not as much. Don't really project him to be a lap leader. So he's a little bit more of a tournament option for me today. Briscoe's been extremely fast as of late. He did win at Pocono, I believe. At least I think he did. I don't really remember. Maybe that was Hamlin. But Briscoe starts on the pole. Clean Air has been really fast. This track is difficult to pass in. This is his hometown track. He's only $9,300. So, another option is you play Briscoe as your lap leader and pair him with some of the place differential plays. I think that's going to be a pretty popular build today. I also wouldn't be surprised if Briscoe isn't in contention for the win. Busher and Logano, just not really getting to them. I don't really see a lot of upside. Busher kind of starts a little bit too far forward. Logano, I think, finishes around where he starts. Ty Gibbs is in the final, for this in-season tournament. He's going up for the $1 million. He's definitely the heavy favorite of the two ties that are going at it. But for DFS purposes, he's been running better as of late. He starts fifth, kind of like Byron, where, a little bit more of a tournament play to get a little bit different. Maybe he can be a contrarian, lap leader, pretty big price savings off of Byron as well. But, not really a target play by any means. But if you're building multiple lines, getting a little bit of Gibbs ownership, I think makes sense. Keselowski's kind of in that same boat as Busher and Logano, just, not really getting to him, not really seeing a lot of upside. Now, he did almost win this race last year. It did kind of turn into like a fuel mileage race. So, the Fords usually get pretty good fuel mileage here. So if that happens again, maybe, but otherwise starting 14th, I don't really see that much upside from him. Chastain starts deep in the field. He's a pretty cheap place differential play. Wasn't really that fast in practice and qualifying, but we've kind of seen that out of Ross this year. He just, for whatever reason, just doesn't qualify well, doesn't really show the pace. But then come the checkered flag, if he isn't wrecking out like we saw last week at Dover, which really screwed me. Hopefully, it didn't screw you guys as much as it did for me. But, Chastain more often than not is moving forward and starting 33rd to be very difficult for him not to move forward. Kyle Busch, these RCR cars have just been hard to play. Even Richard Childress on the radio was like, we got to get better race cars. Starting 12th for DFS purposes, not really a lot of interest there. I really do like Alex Bowman, though. I think a lot of people are going to gravitate and play Ross, but, Bowman is arguably, I would say, is in the better equipment of the two. He's a little bit cheaper. He doesn't give you that same place differential upside, but his ownership will probably be less. And, he's been running better than Ross as of late as well, too. So, I like that play a lot. Hocevar just hasn't really been doing much for us, unfortunately, lately, starting eighth. That's a tough starting spot. Bubba Wallace is on the front row. Maybe everyone's assuming that Brisco's could be that early lap leader, but, maybe Wallace can get out there, get the clean air, and lead some good laps. He's only $7,700 as well. So, I don't mind a couple Bubba Wallace, lineups in there. Barry has just really struggled recently. This team fired off pretty well this year, but lately just hasn't been very good. Ryan Preece, on the other hand, has been pretty good. He starts 23rd. He's only $7,300. His practice times don't really jump out, but, I feel confident in how this team's been running. His teammates also qualified pretty well. So, maybe they can translate some of those notes or some of that speed into this car today. Austin Cindric starts a little bit too far forward. Daniel Suarez starts deep, didn't really look that great, but he's a lot cheaper than Ross Chastain as well. So if you just need some place differential, some value, a guy that you can kind of feel relatively safe about, Suarez makes sense. AJ Allmendinger starts too high, far forward. Same with SVG. Michael McDowell's okay. I think a lot of people are going to go to Suarez or John Hunter Nemechek or Zane Smith or Stenhouse or, Ty Dillon, which we'll get to. But I think McDowell's going to get overlooked a lot today. So I'll probably be slightly over the field on McDowell. He was 12th in the 5-lap average. I don't really know how much you want to put, emphasis on practice today, but that's at least encouraging. I'd rather him be, 12th in the 5-lap than like 23rd in the 5-lap. So, that's encouraging. Eric Jones starts too far forward. John Hunter Nemechek was quickest in the 5, 10, and 15-lap average in practice. He did get loose in qualifying and smack the wall a couple of times. I don't know if this team's going to a backup car, if they're making repairs. But, regardless, he starts super deep in the field. Only Hamlin starts behind him. So for only $6,200, I really like his upside, especially if they can replicate even some of that speed, in the race today. Top 20 is very doable for this team. Austin Dillon starts around where I think he's going to finish. Zane Smith, I think, is a pretty good value play. He's had flashes of speed this season. He's pretty affordable. He was 5th in the single lap practice times as well. Gregson is just a caution flag waiting to happen. It feels like, I don't know the exact stats, and it might not be true, but it feels like he's been involved in more incidents than anyone else this season. Starting 18th doesn't make me feel very confident. Stenhouse was okay in practice, but he starts so deep in the field, and he's only $5,700 that you really just need him to finish the race, and he'll score you points, especially if that allows you to save some money and upgrade, maybe an 8K driver to a 9K driver, or a 9K driver to a 10K driver, or something like that. Then Ty Dillon, like I said, he's going up against Ty Gibbs today, kind of the Cinderella story, ranked 32nd coming into this in-season bracket. Pulling for Ty Dillon, be pretty cool to see him, win this tournament. DFS purposes, he starts 26th. Decent interest, I guess. Not really a target play. And then other than that, like Haley's has not been running well this year. Todd Gilliland starts too far forward. Jesse Love, this Beard Motorsports car, is going to be tough to trust. Likely going to be a back marker. Cole Custer is even cheaper than Jesse Love in the Beard Motorsports cars, which tells you how, slow the Haas equipment has been. Riley Herbst starts too far forward. And then Ware and Balicki are going to be back markers. So for me, I think it really comes down to, are you going all place differential, types of plays where knowing that like, a Blaney, a Larson, and Elliott, could be like place differential hybrid, lap leading, types of plays might take them a little bit of time to get up through the field. Or are you going to try to, pair some of these place differential plays with a guy up front, maybe like Brisco or Byron or Gibbs or, Reddick or, Wallace or something like that. So I haven't built lines yet. This could be the next thing I do after I get this video uploaded up on X. It's at Fast Cars FM. But if you made it this far, we're only 12 subscribers away from 1,000. Maybe there's a chance we can get it this weekend. And then if you want to help us out, you can like, comment, share, retweet our content. You can subscribe. You can follow us on X. We post spreadsheets there for the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series and also this Cup Series. And if you want to help me, buy some more die casts or shirts or go to races, there's a couple of links there in the support tab. So thank you guys. Looking forward to the race today, and best of luck.